This is Zach Clark, Development and Leadership Coaching. Let's talk about engaging people for input. Now, when you're working to provide leadership and move an organization forward and ask people to give and invest in the future, one of the things that we really challenge leaders to do is spend less time thinking about presenting. You certainly have to have a plan. You've got to have your message. You've heard me talk about this, I'm sure. But I see a tendency that we all have, which is we're the expert, we're the person kind of leading all of this. We want to do the talking. We want to present the plan and we want to get into all the details. And if they have questions, we're very well prepared. So we want to answer those questions, maybe even interrupt people. But the whole point is not for you to present a case and ask for people to give, but instead to engage people in understanding and seeing a glimpse of what God is doing and then challenging them to walk with you and to begin or continue on this journey with your ministry and investing through their giving. So if we go into sort of a presentation mode all the time, and we're thinking, well, we just need to have all the answers ready, we need to know their questions before they're even asked, we need to have all the great materials, we're missing a key step, which is engaging people for input and hearing their thoughts, their vision, their ideas, so that they will get on board with us and walking forward. So this is a real key component of growing influence. So you've heard me talk about how the currency that you're after when you're raising money is not money, it's not dollars. The currency you're after is influence. And influence comes from inviting people to share their own perspective. And this takes a skill. I was once challenged by one of my mentors to increase my question to statement ratio. Increase my statement to question ratio. I thought that was incredibly powerful because I was putting too much energy and emphasis in communicating statements and presenting facts and data and expecting people to get it, rather than asking questions that engage people's brains and their vision for the future, and then looking for ways to connect and bring that alignment that's needed. So one of the hang-ups, though, if we think about ways to engage people and ask for input, we ask for advice, one of the hang-ups that I see that leaders have is we have some fear about what we're going to hear. What kind of advice are they going to give us? What kind of ideas are they going to have? And if they have ideas, oh my gosh, we've got plenty to do. We really don't need more opinions because then we'll be obligated to somehow implement these. And this is where I want to try to provide some equipping with you today on this video. So when you think about asking people for input or asking questions, asking their advice, rather than constantly presenting, you're essentially going to get some very predictable categories of input. And if we know what those are, we can be prepared for how to respond, rather than have this fear that, oh my gosh, if they give us these ideas, they give us this advice or this input, that somehow we're on the hook to take it, and gosh, we don't want to have to do that. We want to get on moving forward and raising money. That's what we need, is just people to give. So we don't want to take that approach. So let's think about the categories of input and advice that you'll get so that you can be prepared. So number one, most of the time, I'm going to say the vast majority of the time, probably even 80% of the time, when you ask someone for their input and advice as a potential donor or giver, you are going to hear them share ideas, share advice, or share input that you have already thought of. In fact, you've probably thought of it a lot. So 80% of the time, you're going to hear advice and ideas that you'll have already thought of. That's number one. Another category you're going to hear, of course, is people who have some really great ideas that you've simply not thought of. Maybe it's connections that they have, or relationships, or a project that they might want to help you with, something that they might be interested in giving to that you've not thought of. So you're going to hear some great ideas. That's kind of category number two. Number three, you're going to hear some grievances. Maybe you've made some mistakes in the past. Maybe without intending to, your ministry has hurt people, or people in your organization have hurt other people. and you're going to hear some frustration or some hurt or pain, disappointment. So that's a category. And then fourth, I hate to offend anyone, but you're going to hear some stupid ideas, some truly foolish ideas. Not because people are trying to do you harm, but because they're ignorant. They are not in your position. They don't have that in-depth understanding of what you're trying to accomplish. So those are the four categories. Sort of general advice that you would have already thought of, great ideas that you wouldn't have thought of, advice that or input or reactions based upon pain or grievances, and then fourthly, really stupid, foolish ideas. The question is, how do we respond to these without just kicking into that presentation mode? Keep in mind that when you ask people a question or you ask them for input, it sends their brain on a journey that starts them thinking about the future. What would I do if I were in your shoes? What would I do if I was trying to lead this ministry forward? What would I do if I was trying to impact more lives through this work? So the questions begin to engage their mind and then connect their head to their heart. So when you get those majority of responses that are input that you would have already thought of, advice that you've already heard, ideas that you're already implementing, let me tell you what you don't do. What you don't do is what I call talk like a staff person. I used to share with my team all the time, so stop talking like a staff person. Talking like a staff person means that you're saying, oh, we've already thought of that. We already have a plan. Let me share with you our 10-point plan. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's something we think about and talk about all the time. Well, what are you really saying when you respond that way? You're really saying, you're not really as smart as you think that you are. We've already thought of that. We're the experts, you're not, so thanks but no thanks for that input. No, that is not a loving, respectful, gracious way. Just listen, take in that input, view it as an affirmation that you're on the right track, and make a note that this person has provided this sort of impact because you can circle back later. What do you do about people who have been hurt? These grievances, maybe it's uncomfortable to hear some of these things. Maybe there's no way to defend what they've been through. The very best thing you can do there is just listen and say, I hear you. To not defend, not even get into a major discussion. Try to understand, ask additional questions, and just say, I hear you. I hear you. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity for us to learn and grow and get better. This is hard to hear, but I'm grateful for it. So that's how you deal with that grievance and pain. What do you do when you hear great ideas? Well, I hope you know what to do, but great ideas are something to follow up with, to put fuel behind and think about and engage this person. Well, how would you help us with that? Are there other people that you know that have that idea or that will get excited about that project? Let's build an action plan. Let's put some legs to this. How can we get moving on this great idea? How can we connect the dots to this idea to our overall plan and vision? But then what do you do about the other type of ideas, the truly stupid, ignorant, foolish ideas, which you will hear a few of? The key thing there is, again, listen, take note of it, but recognize that you're under no obligation to implement it. This person probably will forget that they even suggested this idea to you. And even if they don't, just because they're suggesting idea doesn't mean that they have a very strong assumption that you're going to implement this. So what I always share with people is that what you follow up on is what gets done. So foolish ideas will die a death over time by you choosing to not follow up on those ideas. So great ideas, follow up. Typical input, listen, affirm, do not react, do not talk like a staff person. Painful ideas, listen, ask questions, and communicate that you hear them. Foolish ideas, do not follow up. Continue to build that relationship if you can, but don't follow up. Don't give fuel to the foolish ideas. So very specific, practical, proven ways to be prepared to stay in that engaging, questioning, influencing role rather than just talking over people or presenting facts and data and figures, hoping that they'll get it. So thank you so much. I hope this helps. I look forward to hearing from you.